Where is Diddy right now? We're going to get into that, and we're going to hear a former Fed explain specifically what prompted the raid of Diddy's homes. Did he know that his homes were going to be raided? We're going to break it all down from multiple sources.
The 20-year-old Ryan Mendelson, he's lived nearby his whole life, and he often visits his best friend just a few doors down.
But I've seen roommate once a week, girls lingering outside. I drive by a lot, and I see that a lot of girls, maybe 5 or 6 girls outside, some leaving, some not, some going in, black Suburbans. Never know. I never thought anything of it, but now this is crazy. I mean,
now, when you talk about girls coming and going in packs and black Suburbans with tinted windows, yeah, sounds very sex trafficking, and that's part of what the charges are, that they're saying that he has people in his entourage buying girls, even in other states. They're flying them in and all of that, and that is essentially how they can say that it's a sex trafficking situation, but that alone wouldn't prompt the raiding of a house. Now let's look into what prompted them to raid the house and everything before we get all the way into where Diddy is at now and what moves is he's trying to make to try to avoid this whole situation.
Important to look at the history of how we got here. There have been several civil lawsuits detailing accusations of human trafficking, the use of illicit drugs, non-consensual sex with those sex workers. And it appears that it seems as though federal law enforcement officers have been paying attention to those lawsuits and want to do some poking around to see if there's any evidence that these accusations actually give rise to federal crimes.
The feds will read the civil lawsuit, look at the names that are being dropped in the civil lawsuit, and then start their investigation from there, and then turn it into a criminal lawsuit on the back end. So somebody's getting your money in the civil lawsuit on the front end, even if you settled out of court, but now they still can, on the back end, look at what was said and then go after you criminally. So you're going to lose your money and your freedom. Now, before we get into where he's at right now, let's hear a former Fed break down and explain exactly the specifics and details of how they were able to even pull this off, because it sort of takes a lot to be able to raid somebody's house. Some of you may recognize the voice of this former Fed that's speaking.
With that said, for them to get a search warrant like this tells me they have multiple informants and sources of information, more than likely. People that are cooperating, giving them information, because for you to be able to get inside of a house, you need actionable info within somewhere between 2 weeks to a month. So that tells me that someone was in the home, saw some stuff that was questionable, contacted the feds, and they're able to go ahead and get that search warrant through a judge, because the search warrant needs to be fresh with information for you to be able to get in, especially when you got somebody high profile like this.
So that means all the stuff that we've been hearing about, the freakum parties or whatever they calling them, all of that stuff is being recorded. If they say it was underage girls there, all of that stuff is being recorded. They say he records everything in the house, has cameras all through his house. They basically took the names from the civil lawsuit, did an investigation, brought them in for questioning. The person said what needed to be said to let them know that in a situation like this, where we're talking about a trafficking case where there's, sexual crimes, it's really hard to prove all of that. But if you have video evidence and somebody is saying that these are the things that happened in this house, they are recorded, and that's why they all at one time went to all the houses, all 3 of his different properties. They stormed them all at the same time to try to make sure they could do it without him being able to delete anything. But I honestly believe their attempts will be futile, because there's good evidence that P. Diddy knew that they were going to be raiding his homes. In fact, the sources say that he was on one of his private jets, not in the air, but on one of his private jets at the time that his homes were being raided. We all saw the video where he was pacing around nervously at the Miami Opa-locka Executive Airport Customs Office on Monday. That's what the reports say. Now, if he was stopped by Homeland Security, you would think he would be in the custody of Homeland Security. And if they had him, we would have evidence and video of them having him. Like, that just wouldn't happen without it being recorded. And they also, in the same article, they're saying that he was traveling from Los Angeles. They was tracking a lot of different things where he was going from a lot of different places on private planes. He had to have known that they were going to be doing that. I mean, in all the reports with the civil cases, they talk about how he essentially has people on the inside, fixers, people who clean up messes and crimes that he commit. It stands to reason that he knew what was going to be happening, and he had things in a row. It says also in the same article, in the same places that's reporting all of this, they're saying that it was a private plane that they tracked that went from Los Angeles to Antigua. It was spotted on the radar. Seeing as there's been no other photos of him or video of him since that moment where he was pacing around nervous outside of an airport, it stands to reason that he got out of Dodge. But like and subscribe, and we'll definitely keep you updated.